Archer, retire the colors.
Order. Colors. Ready. Cut. Right. Face. Forward. March.
The city introduced the Avenue of Heroes program in 2014 and thus far has honored 133 veterans. And today we will honor another 16. The city funds all costs for this program and volunteers from the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Coronado Historical Association, and the 3rd and 4th Street Neighborhood Association oversee its operation. I'd like to recognize my fellow Avenue of Heroes committee volunteers who made this program possible. Lee Fulmer, Jim Jameson, Darlene Parker, Vince Marchetti, and Dennis Stewart, who couldn't be here with us today. It is now my privilege to introduce Mayor Richard Bailey.
Thank you and welcome everyone. Before we begin today's program, I'd like to take a moment to recognize a few guests we have with us. I'd ask that you hold your applause until the end. Councilmember Mike Donovan, Councilmember Marvin Himes, City Manager Blair King, former Councilmember Mike Wywood, Naval Base Coronado Executive Officer John Dupree, Explosive Ordnance Disposal Group 1 Commodore Oscar Rojas, Command Master Chief Mark Pretend, and Commanding Officer of Fleet Readiness Center Southwest Captain Tony Armilo. Would you please give them a round of applause? I would also like to recognize all of our volunteer biography writers. Without them, this recognition today would not be possible. Would all of our volunteer biography writers please stand to be recognized? I'll jump up one. There we go. I would also like to thank our ushers for today from Coronado High School, Tristan Rinko, Tony Miley, and Evan Schnell. Will you all please give them a round of applause? And we will now begin our formal presentation.
Everly D. Williams, better known to his friends and family as Chubb, was born in Rockville, Missouri on December 26, 1960. He attended college in Warrensburg, Missouri. He taught school in a one-room schoolhouse before he enlisted in the Naval Reserve Aviation Corps in September of 1939. Chubb became a naval aviator in Pensacola, Florida the following year on September 10, 1940. He flew Grumman TBM for torpedo bomber Avengers and received a Distinguished Flying Cross for a mission over New Guinea while flying on off the USS Lexington. He was forced to abandon that ship on May 8, 1942, during the Battle of Coral Sea, when the Lexington was struck by a Japanese dive bomber and crippled. Chubb spent 4 hours in the water before being rescued. The ship was later scuttled by a U.S. submarine. After the Battle of the Coral Sea, he was transferred to the Naval Air Station in Coronado and became a flight instructor. The Navy housed Chubb at the Hotel Del Coronado, and it was there that he met his future bride, Mimi. He retired from the Navy in 1959 with the rank of commander and spent his remaining years in Coronado with his wife, Mimi, who died in 1989. He is survived by his 3 children, Reverend Canon Jim Willems of Rhode Island, Rick Willems, and Wendy Tujen of Coronado. He is also survived by 3 grandchildren, Aaron, Dan, and Kate, and 3 great-grandchildren.
United States Navy Senior Chief Petty Officer Benton Stacy was born July 16, 1983, and raised in Greenville, Ohio. In August 2005, he enlisted in the Navy and later attended Navy Diving and Salvage Training Center and the Naval School Explosive Ordnance Disposal. As an explosive ordnance disposal technician, he deployed 4 times and completed tours at DoD Mobile Unit 3, DoD Mobile Unit 6, and DoD Training and Evaluation Unit 2, and DoD Mobile Unit 11. In 2017, Stacy served as an EOD technician team leader, helping to advise and assist Syrian Democratic Forces and Raqqa International Security Forces personnel. On November 9, 2017, while clearing improvised explosive devices from a hospital in Syria, an IED detonated, seriously wounding him. His teammates administered casualty care, resulting in his survival. He returned to the United States for intensive care and rehabilitation, but the event left him as a quadriplegic. Although he has supported Special Operations Forces in among the most dangerous places on earth, his greatest challenge for himself and his family will be his long road to recovery. His supportive wife, Lindsay, has been essential in his rehabilitation while raising 4 beautiful children, Logan, Mason, Annabelle, and Sadie. His personal decorations include the Purple Heart, Bronze Star Medal, Navy Achievement Medal, 2 awards, Army Commendation Medal, 2 awards, Army Achievement Medal, 2 awards, Combat Action Ribbon, and various unit and campaign awards. In October 2010, he was presented the USO Service Member of the Year Award. With the family and friends of Senior Chief Petty Officer Benton Stacy, please come forward to the presentation.
Gordon Deward Cady was born March 2nd, 1913, in Port Huron, Minnesota. Son of Mr. and Mrs. Bert D. Cady. Following his graduation from a military prep school, he attended the University of Florida at Gainesville, where he earned an electrical engineering degree. Upon graduation, he joined the Navy as an aviation cadet, earning his Naval Aviator wings at Naval Air Station in 1937. And he was honored as the most outstanding graduate. He was assigned to a carrier battle group at Naval Air Station North Island in 1937. Once he arrived in Coronado, he sent for his fiancée, Carolyn Sykes of Gainesville. They were married on October 14, 1937, in the living room of the base chapel. Their first home was at 327 Palm Avenue. The next several years were spent in flying villas. The military was preparing for a conflict. Cady was a flight instructor in Great Lakes, and he moved around the country attending advanced training and providing advanced training until July 1943. In September 1943, he was assigned as the commanding officer of VF-11, the Sundowners. The squadron deployed from Coronado for the Pacific aboard the USS Hornet in March of 1944. In July of 1944, he was promoted to commander and then in August he was assigned to the Commander-in-Chief Pacific Fleet as the Assistant Operations Officer for flying duties. Sadly, he was killed in a plane crash off the USS Bellewood on August 30th, 1944. During a short but memorable career, he earned several commendations. The most notable of these were the Air Medal and the Distinguished Flying Cross, awarded posthumously.
Born in Metlakatla, Alaska in 1930, Solomon Saul Atkinson departed his Inside Passage Island to embark on a 22-year military career. 2 years after enlisting in the United States Navy, he volunteered for the Underwater Demolition Teams, UDT, the famed frogmen of World War II, deploying to Korea and the Pacific. When President Kennedy established the U.S. Navy SEAL teams, Saul became a flank owner of SEAL Team 1 and the first Alaskan Native American SEAL. Completing 3 combat tours to Vietnam, he earned the Bronze Star for Valor and the Purple Heart. Additionally, he trained dozens of United States astronauts. Fellow SEALs said of him, Saul's story will continue to be told by the men he's trained, by the officers who relied on him, by the frogmen who all respect him. An officer, a gentleman, an athlete, a friend, Saul Atkinson is all of these, but of all of these traits, he is first a frogman. Saul retired from the Navy after serving with Underwater Demolition Teams 3, 12, and 21, and SEAL Teams 1 and 2. Returning to Alaska, Saul continued to serve his people and nation as mayor of Metlakatla and a tireless veterans, Indian rights, and education advocate. Efforts for which he was lionized with these words on the floor of the U.S. Senate. Saul spent decades reaching out to his fellow veterans to make sure they received the benefits, honor, and dignity they earned. Capturing Saul's humility are words he spoke in accepting his many civilian awards. Everything I do is for my people, not myself. Veteran, SEAL, patriot. Saul Atkinson has and continues to serve his nation with unsurpassed distinction.
Friends, shipmates, and family are gathered as we celebrate the life and exploits of the great man, Jack Christensen. He was an immigrant to this country, and like many immigrants who have come here, he worked hard, lived large, and loved his country. When World War II started, there was no question if he was going or not. He went, and so began a remarkable naval career that spanned decades. His achievements were many, his influence on his peers and those that he commanded great. The Admiral was awarded the Navy Cross for sinking the Japanese battleship Nagato. He was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for shooting down the Japanese torpedo plane during the Marianas Islands turkey shoot. Additionally, the Admiral was awarded 8 Air Medals. He married Gloria Moore and had 2 children, Tom and Tia. During those early years as a junior officer, shore duty was rare and deployments were long, tough conditions for raising a family. After retiring from the Navy, Jack and Gloria divorced. He told Tom and Tina, "I'm broke and I'm going to work for Grumman and make some money." Jack did exactly that, becoming the Director of Field Operations and marrying Claire Demeline in 1972. After retiring from Grumman, Jack and Claire moved to Whidbey Island in Washington State, where Jack spent many happy days plying the waters of Puget Sound and the Strait of Juan de Fuca in his trawler Navy Cross. Rear Admiral John S. Christensen currently resides in Fort Rosecrans, where he can still keep an eye on all of us. William F. Grimm was born May 18, 1927, in Centralia, Washington. He grew up there in Piedmont, California. In 1945, at the age of 17, he was granted his high school diploma early in order to enlist in the Navy. Bill served as an enlisted sailor until the end of World War II, and then was appointed to the United States Naval Academy, graduating in the class of 1950. He earned his Naval Aviator wings in 1951. Bill married Edith Huggins on New Year's Eve in 1951. Together they had 3 children, Bill Grimm, Martha Worker, and Liz Patton. Captain Grimm's Navy career spanned 32 years. serving in both the Korea and Vietnam Wars. Assigned to Patrol Squadron BP-21, he flew both the P-4M Mercator and the P-2V Neptune. He attended the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California from 1956 to 1959, and then taught at the Naval Academy. He commanded ASW Squadron VS-38, deploying them twice to Vietnam. As a captain, Bill commanded Carrier Anti-Sub Air Group 5-3. After Pentagon tour and his final assignment on North Island, he retired in July of 1977, having accrued 3,900 career flight hours, 490 carrier landings, of which 170 of them at night. Bill's many decorations include the Air Medal with Gold Star for meritorious achievement in aerial flight during Vietnam, the Korean Campaign Medal with 5 stars, the World War II Victory Medal, the UN Service Medal, the China Service Medal, and a meritorious unit commendation for the recovery of the unmanned Apollo 4 AS-501 mission. After retiring from the Navy, Bill opened Grimm TV and Appliance here in Coronado, serving the community for years. Retiring for a second time, he was a fixture at the Coronado Golf Course. Captain Grimm passed away in his home on June 29, 2018, at the age of 91.
Chaplain Brigadier General Wayne W. Hoffman, United States Army retired, was born in Hollis, Long Island in 1937, attended public schools in New York, and matriculated at Wheaton College in Illinois. Graduating in 1959, he was commissioned as second lieutenant in the Army Infantry. He then enrolled in Columbia Theological Seminary, receiving his master's degree from the infantry at the United States Army Chaplain Corps. Temporarily assigned to the 1st Army Division as it staged in Florida for the invasion of Cuba in support of Operation Mongoose. Chaplain Hoffman then received orders to a unit serving in the demilitarized zone of Korea. He was subsequently assigned as a staff chaplain, Oakland Army Base, California, where he counseled soldiers during the early days of the Vietnam War. Leaving active duty in 1965, Chaplain Hoffman served as brigade chaplain to the Mississippi, Indiana, and Florida National Guard at their respective headquarters. After graduating from the Army Command and Staff College, and later the Army War College, he was assigned to Headquarters Department of the Army. In 1991, he was activated for Operation Desert Storm, promoted to the rank of Brigadier General, and became the Senior Reserve Chaplain. He held this position until his retirement in 1997, completing 38 years in the United States Army active and reserve components. Chaplain Hoffman's civilian career encompassed ministerial and senior educational assignments in Mississippi, Indiana, Florida, Missouri, and California. Married in 1961, he and his wife have lived in Coronado since 1999.
Lieutenant Colonel Russ Lloyd Jr., USMC retired, is a native of San Diego. He spent many of his early formative years in Coronado, where he attended Coronado High School. He was the captain of the swimming team here. After graduating in high school, Russ enlisted in the Marine Corps Reserves in 1951 and was commissioned as a second lieutenant upon graduating from Colgate University in 1954. He was first assigned as a force reconnaissance officer, where he honed his many leadership skills that he later used in combat. His notable service included deployment upon the USS Franklin D. Roosevelt, CD-42, 2 Vietnam combat tours with 1st Battalion, 9th Marine Infantry Battalion Regiment in Vietnam, 1965 to 1966, and senior advisor for the Korean Marine Corps, 1971 to 1972, and Headquarters Marine Corps in Washington, D.C. Lieutenant Colonel Lloyd retired from the Marine Corps after 27 years in 1977. His awards included the Legion of Merit with Combat V, Navy and Marine Corps Medal, Bronze Star with Combat V, Navy and Marine Corps Commendation Medal with Combat V, Republic of Vietnam Cross of Gallantry with Palm, Lieutenant Colonel Lloyd's proudest achievement, however, was earning the Navy Marine Corps Medal when he single-handedly rescued a family of 4 from drowning in dangerous surf conditions off the coast of Maine. Lieutenant Colonel Lloyd also had the privilege of personally escorting President John F. Kennedy during the ceremonial review of the Honor Guard at Sea School at the Marine Corps Recruit Depot, San Diego. Upon retiring from the Marine Corps, Lieutenant Colonel Lloyd redirected his energy, earning a Ph.D. in higher education, and began a second career in the field of higher education. Throughout his life, Lieutenant Colonel Lloyd has taken pride in serving others. He became an Eagle Scout as a youth and then earned the Silver Beaver Award for 30 years of distinguished service as an adult scout leader. He was also Rotarian for 32 years, serving as the president of his local chapter 4 separate times. Russ retired to Fredericksburg, Virginia with his late wife of 60 years, Jean Bush Lloyd. Together they raised 5 children and rescued numerous Labrador retrievers. He has enjoyed the camaraderie of old service buddies, often on Oaks marches where he has hiked all 50 states, 29 capitals, as well as parts of Mexico and Canada. Hoorah!
Army Doctor Lieutenant Colonel Louis Scott Marco's story is one of heroism and courage, overcoming previous physical and psychological wounds suffered as a 19-year-old medic in Vietnam. He served his fellow soldiers and prisoners of war as a doctor in the Gulf War. The Orange, California native was drafted into the United States Army as a radio officer. However, while in training, he agreed to become a medic instead, a decision that became life-changing. Marco was wounded twice in Vietnam, earning the Purple Heart both times. His second and more significant injury occurred when his platoon was ambushed, leaving him with shrapnel in his body that would remain there the rest of his life. He earned the Bronze Star for his heroism under fire during the ambush. Marco's non-visible wounds, caused by the loss of so many of his soldiers, also haunted him for the rest of his life. The trauma of combat and his lengthy recovery inspired Marco to become a medical doctor. After leaving the service, he went to Seattle University and then on to medical school, earning a specialty in internal medicine. In 1984, he felt called to service again and became a doctor in the United States Army Reserve, assigned to the 129th Evacuation Hospital. In 1991, he was mobilized to serve as a staff doctor caring for prisoners of war, predominantly from the Iraqi Army's Republican Guard at the POW camp near Tehran, Saudi Arabia. After the Gulf War, he left the Army Reserve and returned home, ultimately settling in Coronado, raising a family and getting a second specialty as an anesthesiologist. His passion for medicine continued until he died in July 2018. Scott was the bravest man I ever met, said his wife, Evelyn. He took the horrific experiences of Vietnam and used them to motivate himself to become a doctor and serve his fellow soldiers and others in need.
John Blackwell McKinney was born on December 8, 1922 in Brooklyn, New York. He graduated from Garden City High School in June of 1940. Soon after Pearl Harbor, there was no doubt. John joined the civilian pilot training program. After successfully completing the Navy's pilot training, John was assigned to BT-13, a torpedo bomber squadron off the USS Franklin, flying the Avenger. Soon after arriving in the Pacific Theater, John saw his first action. On July 4, 1944, his Air Group 13 conducted a pre-dawn strike on the Bonin Islands. Thereafter, Ensign McKinney flew 29 combat missions. In addition to 2 air medals for meritorious actions against the enemy, he received the Distinguished Flying Cross for heroism, an extraordinary achievement while in the vicinity of the Nansei-Shiko Islands in the face of extremely intense and accurate naval and shore anti-aircraft fire. He skillfully maneuvered his plane to a dangerously close range and obtained a direct hit, sinking a medium Japanese cargo vessel. Ensign McKinney was awarded the Navy Cross for his actions during the Battle of Gulf. The citation reads in part, in the face of heavy and accurate naval anti-aircraft fire, he participated in an aerial glide bombing attack against units of the enemy fleet and scored a direct hit on an enemy carrier. After the war, John remained in the Navy, and while stationed in Honolulu in 1946, he met Helen Williams, whom he would later marry. In 1956, they built their home in Coronado, right at 907 First Street, where they raised their family. John retired from the Navy in 1968, having attained the rank of commander. John B. McKinney passed away on October 21st, 2012, at the age of 89, the day that would have been his 62nd wedding anniversary.
Captain Donald F. Milligan was born October 23, 1924 in Detroit, Michigan. His family subsequently relocated to Salem, Ohio, where Don grew up. In March of 1943, Don enlisted in the United States Navy and served on the USS Angel, DD-66, a destroyer escort in the North Atlantic. He was selected for the V-12 Officer Training Program and entered Denison University in July 1944. He transferred to the University of Kansas in July 1945, graduating in 1947 and was commissioned in ensign on June 16, 1947. He met and married Patricia Taylor of Coronado in 1950. In his early naval career, Don served on USS Iowa BB-61, USS Bedoing Strait CV-116, and USS Glenaway APA-195. He graduated from the United States Naval Postgraduate School in 1953. He then served on the staff of Destroyer Squadron 3, was aide to the Commandant, 13th Naval District, and was Executive Officer of USS John A. Bowl, DD-755. In September 1959, he took command of USS Leader, MSO 490, the first of his 5 commands at sea. He graduated from the Army Command and General Staff College in 1962, served on the staff of the United States Naval Postgraduate School, and then assumed command of USS Hopewell, DD-681, in 1964. He took command of Destroyer Escort Squadron 7 in 1965, which split its time between Subic Bay, Philippines, and Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. After serving in the Defense Communications Agency in Washington, D.C., Don returned to sea as commanding officer of USS National, LBD-13, in 1971, and then assumed command of Destroyer Squadron 7 in San Diego in 1972. His decorations included Meritorious Service Medal, Navy Commendation Medal Combat B, Gold Star in lieu of second award, World War II Victory Medal, United Nations Medal, Korean Service Medal 2 stars, and Vietnam Service Medal 4 stars. Don retired from the United States Navy in 1975, returning to Coronado, having served in 3 wars, commanded 3 ships and 2 squadrons. He always described himself as a ship driver and a West Coast sailor. He loved Coronado and wouldn't have retired to any place else. He continued to serve his community in a variety of ways. He volunteered in the Crime Prevention Office of the Coronado Police Department, ran for a seat on the school board, hosted a high school foreign exchange student, supported the 4th of July celebration, and was a deacon at the Graham Memorial Presbyterian Church. He's a member of the Coronado Men's Golf Club and was a member of the National Sojourner Masonic Veterans Group. We honor him here today in the presence of his family and friends. Don passed away in August of 2009, a life well lived with honor and distinction.
Commander William Rennie, U.S. Navy retired, Canadian of Pittston, PA, enlisted in the United States Navy from July 1949 October 1949. Then he was selected for the Merchant Marine Academy, from which he graduated in September 1953. Upon graduating, Bill was commissioned as an ensign in the United States Naval Reserve. He was called to active duty and sent to Pensacola, Florida for flight training in September of 1953, and was designated as a naval aviator in November 1954. He then reported to Miramar Naval Air Station, San Diego, and deployed to the Western Pacific aboard USS Shangri-La in late 1956. He joined Attack Squadron BA-26 on Naval Air Station off the field. During this time, there, the squadron received the Naval Air Weapons Meet 1957 Kane Trophy as the championship air-to-ground team in the United States Navy. He personally was awarded the Herman Trophy as the individual air-to-ground champion flying the F-9F-8 Cougar jet. He then participated in another Western Pacific deployment aboard the USS Kearsarge. From 1958 to 1959, he was a flight instructor at Naval Air Station Memphis. In 1960, he served as number 6 and number 3 on the Blue Angels, the Navy's premier flight demonstration squadron. After departing from the Blue Angels, he was chosen to be the aide to Deputy Commander-in-Chief, Pacific Fleet in Honolulu, Hawaii. During the Vietnam War from 1963 to 1971, he was assigned to the USS Palm Richard, the U.S. Hancock, U.S. Shangri-La, and the U.S. Ranger as a flight pilot flying the F-8E Crusader jet aircraft. During his time in service, he was the executive officer of Fighter Squadron BF-111, the Sundowner. That was between 1969 and 1970, and later became the commanding officer from 1970 to 1971. Commander Rennie then became the operations officer aboard the USS Ranger from 1971 to 1972. Throughout his years of service, the commander was awarded a Distinguished Flying Cross, a Bronze Star, 20 Air Medals, and 3 Navy Commendation Medals. The commander retired from active duty in 1973 with over 4,800 flight hours throughout his time in service. As a civilian, he continued to fly various helicopters and planes, both single and multi-engine. In 1976, Commander Rennie founded a company, Sun and Sea Properties, Incorporated, where he syndicated and managed apartment and commercial office buildings. The corporation is still in existence today. On April 19, 2005, the commander passed away this morning in Coronado, surrounded by his family. Will the commander please come forward?
Captain Hugh J. Rosania served his country with distinction for over 30 years in the United States Navy and National Guard. He served in 3 wars and was awarded the Joint Service Commendation Medal and the Legion of Merit. Devotion to duty, service to others, and care for his family were the hallmarks of Hugh's life. Born in Somerville, New Jersey in January 1921, Hugh was the youngest of 8 children. He joined the National Guard and was attending Rutgers University when he received an appointment to the United States Naval Academy, class of 44. At Annapolis, he played attack on the Navy lacrosse team that won the 1943 National Championship. He graduated a year early in June 1943 and was reported aboard the destroyer USS Wadsworth in the Pacific, seeing action at Guadalcanal, Okinawa, and was officer of the deck during the initial Marine landings on the Iwo Jima. After the war, Hugh served on several submarines, including command of the USS Intimidator in 1955 and command of Submarine Division 51 in 1962. In 1963, he was promoted to the rank of captain and assumed command of the USS Henrico, an attack transport that participated in landing the first U.S. combat units in Vietnam. Then Hugh was transferred to Pearl Harbor as operations officer on the staff of Commander-in-Chief Pacific. His last assignment was at the amphibious base in Coronado, training Navy SEALs prior to their deployment in Vietnam. He lived in Coronado a total of 43 years. He was a member of the Optimist Club, was a volunteer at the Historical Association and public schools. He was very active at St. Paul's United Methodist Church, including service as chair of the administrative board. Hugh passed away in 2008. His wife Lois still resides in Coronado. Hugh has 3 sons, Tom, Jim, and Rob, 4 grandchildren, Rebecca, Jimmy, Allison, and Colleen, and 2 great-grandchildren, Will and Tom. family and friends of Angel Jimenez, please come forward.
Commander Richard Sadlier joined the Air Force in 1959 and was sent to Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines. After 18 months at Clark, he took a concurrent overseas assignment at RAF Wethersfield in England in 1963. Commander Sadlier was honorably discharged from the Air Force to attend college. Upon graduation, he joined the Navy and in 1967 graduated from Aviation Officer Candidate School and was an ensign. His first assignment was Vietnam. But first, he had to go to Fort Rucker, Alabama, for UH-1 Huey transition training, gunnery, and tactics. Then to survival training in Warner Springs, California. Arriving in Vietnam in 1969, Rich Squadron moved, sometimes as often as every 6 weeks between the South China Sea and the Gulf of Thailand. During his duty in Vietnam, he flew 483 combat missions, sometimes flying up to 6 combat missions in one day, and about 200 non-combat flights. In 1973, he was transferred to the West Coast for sea duty with Anti-Submarine Squadron 2, HS-2. During a deployment aboard the USS Enterprise, he was part of the evacuation of Vietnam. After that, he transferred to the Fleet Replacement Squadron at NAS North Island as a flight simulator ground instructor and department head. After many tours of duty that spanned over 20 years of service, the commander retired in 1986 and became a San Diego police officer, retiring as a detective. His many military decorations include Air Medal with 22 Strike Flight and 2 Single Action Awards, Navy Commendation, Presidential Unit Citation, Navy Unit Citation, Meritorious Unit Citation, Good Conduct, Navy Expeditionary, Humanitarian Service Medal, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Sea Service Deployment Medal, Vietnam Service, the VN Cross of Gallantry Brigade level, the Air Gallantry Cross, the VN Campaign and Arvin Meritorious Unit Citation, Gallantry Cross, and Civil Action Colors. The commander lives in Coronado with his wife, Diane, a retired police officer, and has 4 adult children and 5 grandchildren. The Sadliers have a long history with the military. As his father said, father-in-law were both retired World War II veterans, and their son is a retired Marine major. According to the commander, quote, "We are 3 generations of family members who have proudly served our country."
Born in the small inland town of Durant's Neck, North Carolina, on August 24th, 1914, A.O. Turner enlisted in the Navy up the road in Norfolk, Virginia, after his graduation from high school in 1932. His early naval career work focused on aviation ordnance, and he served during not only peacetime, but also the entirety of World War II and Korea. He was stationed on the battleship USS Idaho in 1933, transferring to the heavy cruiser USS Northampton in 1934, and spending considerable time in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. His pilot training started in 1939 at NAS Pensacola, and he rose to the enlisted rank of Chief Aviation Pilot. Turner met Rose O'Brien while stationed in Seattle, and they were married in 1941. After the Pearl Harbor attack and needing more experienced pilots, the Navy commissioned him as an ensign or Mustang in 1942. That same year, he, notably serving on Midway Island, and participated in the Battle of Midway. For the next 20 years, he and Rose were stationed in many places, including Coronado, while raising 2 boys, Michael and Jerry, both Coronado High School graduates. His final tour, back again in Coronado,